right, what's up guys? My name is Zach and today I am driving a 2020 Toyota GR Yaris High Performance. Up front is a 1.6 liter turbocharged inline 3 and down below is a 6-speed manual transmission. Now I am super excited to be driving this GR Yaris because we don't get it in the States. I've been saying that a lot with my Japanese reviews because that's the whole point of me filming these cars in Japan. But this is the smaller chassis of the GR Corolla essentially. Imagine you took the GR Corolla and put it into a copy machine at 75%. And so today we're gonna be seeing if that improves the car or hurts the car overall. But if you'd like to submit your own vehicle and have it reviewed here on the channel, you can head on over to my website, zackpradel.com/submit. It's a quick and easy submission form. It takes under a minute to fill out, and I come out to you. And if you'd like to see all my videos weeks or sometimes months in advance, you can head on over to my Patreon for only $5 a month. But let's get back to that 1.6 liter turbo inline 3. Well, that is the same engine that you get in the GR Corolla. And this is actually down on horsepower a little bit from the GR Corolla. The GR Corolla makes 300 flat. This makes 268. So you're at about a 32 horsepower deficit. However, the Yaris is lighter. And for the 2024 model year later, they did give you about 12 more horsepower for 280, which sort of fills that gap a little bit. Does this feel underpowered? Not in the slightest. And that is what makes this car so fantastic, is that power plant. 268 horsepower is plenty to have fun, and we'll talk about some other goodies that go with it. Like I said, paired to it is a 6-speed manual transmission. It's a good transmission. I don't know if maybe it's this particular one or if it's GR Yaris's in general. It's a really, really stiff shifter. It's a very unforgiving, not very motivated shifter. And that's a shame because I really do love the GR Corolla. I think that does have a little bit better of a shifter. But again, it's not a direct apples to apples comparison since this has 93,000 kilometers on it. It might have been swapped out for a kit or something like that I'm unaware of, but my experience here today is that it is pretty unforgiving. Last but not least, the GR Yaris is, of course, like its older sibling, all-wheel drive. However, this is actually the high performance package, which gives it front and rear limited slip differentials, as well as stiffer suspension and different wheels. However, those different wheels have also been swapped out for some Enki wheels, so I can't show you the high performance package wheels today, but it does get the front and rear limited slip diffs, which is really truly the cherry on top. How does it feel to drive the GR Yaris? Well, it drives very similar to the GR Corolla, obviously, but you do have it in a little bit smaller and a little bit spicier of a package. Especially here in Japan, I love driving this Yaris over the Corolla because it just is a little bit smaller, and size is the name of the game here. You kind of want the smallest car possible. But the ride quality is stiff because of that high performance package, and it shares its peaks and valleys with the GR Corolla. Would I want to daily this? I don't know, it's pretty rough. I've daily driven GR Corollas back in the States, and it beats you up. You know, you gotta take a break after driving it. And that's the same issue here with the Yaris. However, you have those performance benefits and, of course, that suspension, the brakes, those limited slip diffs, and 268 horsepower on tap is very, very fun. So it's really going to be how much punishment on a daily drive can you take. That will define if this is the right pick for you.
All right, I apologize for the bad audio quality. I was doing the POV drive. I can't, this is what I see. This is what I'm supposed to be seeing. So rear visibility is not good, I would say. Yeah. All right.
All right, down into second. Woo, doggy. Okay, couple of things. First of all, it's fast. Goodness grape juice, it's fast. It feels faster than the GR Corolla. Don't know how, don't know why. Probably it has to do with weight, has to do with the snappier, shorter wheelbase for sure. But man, this thing does not take no for an answer. With that stuff out of the way, let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have 4 physical gauges and a screen. Off to the left is the tachometer and coolant temperature, and off to the right is the speedometer and fuel. We do get a little screen in the center. It's funny because this is the traditional Toyota screen that I'm so familiar with, but I can't really read any of it because, of course, it is in Japanese. On the steering wheel, on the left, we have our go back, skip, and selectors for that screen. We also have volume and voice commands, and off to the right, we have our mode and skip track. To the right of the steering wheel, we have our climate control vent, our headlight levelers, as well as some rally-inspired intercooler water spray. Now, the Subaru WRX of the early 2000s was famous for having this. I can actually hit a button down here to spray water on the intercooler to cool it off. Water absorbs the heat and then evaporates, taking the heat with it. So I actually have a button for it, which is very, very cool. I love seeing that. So rally-inspired. Really, really cool. And moving into the center, we get our infotainment display. This is the factory, from what I can tell, infotainment. Looks like every other Toyota infotainment system, JBL system, and it works well. You know, I don't have any complaints about it. Infotainments here in Japan are very much an afterthought, so it's fine and does the job, and that's it. Down below, we have the hazard switch, we have 2 climate control vents and a cubby. And then we have our climate controls themselves. Something interesting here is that it does get dual zone climate, and that's just interesting because the Yaris itself is a more budget-oriented chassis, so them adding dual zone is very, very nice. We do have a USB-A, we have a 12-volt outlet, and we have our drive mode settings for sport, track, and of course, normal mode. Then we have the shifter itself. I think the shifter actually looks really, really great, and it doesn't feel very economy. You know, this is a pretty special car, and so the shifter itself relatively reflects that. I can't say it's the specialist, but it is nice. Down below, we do have our handbrake. We have the IMT button, which is the auto rev match downshifting. Really, really nice to see that here. Traction control off and our auto start stop on and off. And we get this little badge that says GR World Rally Competition, developed for the FIA World Rally Championship. Very, very cool to see that little badge down here. Then we do have cup holders, and say it with me, we were hoping, but unfortunately, it fails the big friggin' bottle test, and that's okay. You don't need a big friggin' bottle when you're out hitting the rally course. And then we have the seats. The seats are a mix of cloth and this sort of leather material. They are manual seats. They are aggressive seats. They have some pretty high bolsters, and their job is to keep you in this car when it's going straight, up, down, and possibly sideways. So they do a good job of that, and being a bigger guy, especially a bigger guy who's much bigger than most people here in Japan, I actually fit pretty well. So you're not really going to have an issue with these seats. They're not uncomfortable, although they are rather sporty. However, speaking of seats, much to my chagrin, we do have back seats in this tiny little Yaris. So let's jam myself back there. All right, let's see how this is going to go. I can't imagine very well. All right, this is our window, ladies and gentlemen. Oh my goodness gracious. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. All right, I'm in the back of a GR Yaris. Didn't think I would say that, maybe ever in my life, and I get to say it here today, which is glorious. Not a whole ton of space. As you can see, this is the driver's seat, driver position. Legs are not really allowed. Now, you could fit, another person. This is obviously not pushed back. The passenger could be nice and scoot all the way up, and then you could fit a third person back here. You're not really going to fit a fourth person over here. So this is very, very small, and this is where the GR Corolla has a big leg up on the GR Yaris. Is the GR Corolla spacious? Not in the slightest, but it is more spacious than the Yaris. So that's a big thumbs up. I guess at least thumbs up for the US market and not for the GR Yaris. So thumbs down for the GR Yaris. Let's talk about trunk and cargo space. All right, coming around the back of the GR Yaris, and we do have a little button in here to pull it up, and that's all you get. This is severely lacking based off of or compared to other vehicles. We do have a little mat down here. We can pull this up. That is where the battery lives, same location as the GR Corolla. And we have our water jug. That is for the intercooler sprayer, which is incredibly cool. It's a 3.7 liter, basically a Nissan 370Z for your intercooler. That doesn't actually make sense, but very, very cool to see. You get a little GR floor mat. You get no lights or amenities or anything like that. This is sort of a stripped out race car, and that is pretty obvious with the back cargo space. So there it is, GR Yaris, close it up. Bada bing, bada boom. Now we gotta talk about the looks, and I do love the look of the GR Yaris. I think it looks great. It still has that very corporate Toyota fun design language, but it is in that smaller package, and it's cool to see a two-door. I always thought the GR Corolla would be better as a two-door, and that's basically just what this is, and I think overall it does look good in that way. I would have liked a more fun color. GR products don't usually come in very fun colors, which is very interesting, so white here today, it works, but I can't say I'm super happy with it, but overall, it does its job. With all of that being said, let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think driving the GR Yaris? Well, the difference between this and the regular Yaris is that the regular Yaris is up for anything. You want to go to the store, you need to go on a little road trip, you need to do whatever, it's up for it. This car is down. There's a distinction between being up for anything and being down for anything. Because if you're down for anything, you're ready to get dirty, you're ready to play in the mud, and you're ready to do whatever it's going to take to get the job done. That's being down for anything. This car is down for anything, and the power is just so great, and the top end feels limitless. There doesn't feel like there's a ceiling. It doesn't feel like the 1.6 liter is starting to choke up at the top. If you took the rev limiter off, this thing would go sky high, and this thing is great. It's GREAT, baby. It's better than the GR Corolla. In its driving dynamics, this is better than the GR Corolla. Signed, sealed, and sent, it is. However, there is a reason why we don't get it in the States, and it's twofold. Because converted for USD, this is about a $30,000 car. That's really reasonable for the package that you get. This, compared to a $30,000 Civic Si that we currently get, I would take this every single day of the week for actually $1,000 cheaper than a Civic Si. That is mind-boggling to me. But why don't we get it in the United States? Again, like I said, twofold. First of all, we don't get the normal Yaris in the States. And so, in order to now bring this into the States, they would have to federalize an entirely new vehicle. And so, when you're pumping out millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of Yarises, that's fine. You know, you could pay the fee to get something federalized. But a GR Yaris, which is always going to be sort of a niche boutique vehicle, Toyota doesn't want to shell out the money to do that just to sell a couple thousand of them. The other reason is the fact that Americans just want more space, and the GR Corolla does offer that. It has a at least slightly more usable backseat. I don't want to call the backseat of the GR Corolla usable because it's really not fantastic, but it blows this Yaris out of the water, so it has that going for it. It has a lot more usable trunk space. It's a little bit bigger. Us Yankees, we want bigger cars, and so the GR Corolla is the correct car for the American market. It is. It's still an amazing, amazing vehicle, but this is better. It's more special. It feels more in tune with the job it sets out to do, if that makes sense. This is a performance car first and Yaris second. This doesn't take no for an answer, and this car doesn't care about your feelings, where the GR Corolla is just a little bit softer around the edges. Not in terms of performance ability, but just in overall ethos. I'd be happier to live with a GR Corolla than I would the GR Yaris. But this is the crazy blonde that you meet at the bar. You got one shot. That's it. And you got to take it. And today, I'm taking it here in this GR Yaris. It is just phenomenal. I can't say that I would want to live with one and daily drive one and commute with one. But here on some slick back roads in Chibi, Japan, yeah, this is all I've ever wanted and a little bit more. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you guys enjoyed checking out this famous vehicle What an absolute treat here today. My trip here to Japan was made possible by JDM Imports. Go to collectiblejdm.com if you would like to bring home your own slice of Japan, whether it's one of their vehicles in their inventory or if you would like to source and find the perfect vehicle in Japan and bring it to the United States. You can do all of that through collectiblejdm.com. So thank you, JDM Imports, for making this trip to Japan possible. Click the link in the description below. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.